All right, guys, we are coming to you live with our premiere episode event of The Call. I'm going to give it just a moment for people to start rolling in. We also have about a minute on the clock until the appointed start time. So we'll give people a chance to come in, get settled, and be with us for tonight's production.
Awesome.
All right. Wow. Without further ado, I will go ahead and get us rolling into our episode. So, tonight is our premiere episode event of The Call. We do have with us our special guest, Chiedu and Aubree Monu. They are husband and wife, co founders of Hurts So Good Therapeutic Massage and Wellness in Rochester, New York, located on Dewey Avenue. So, welcome, Chiedu and Aubree.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank you very much.
much.
Thank you for having us
Yes.
as your first guests.
Very honored.
Yeah, Aubree and I were actually quite nervous.
We're on
But,
it.
yeah.
Yes,
We're
well,
to be here
it
with
is an honor to have you on the show as our first guest for this premiere episode. So, to get us rolling in tonight's episode, we're very curious to hear how you guys came together.
Yeah, I always like to tell the story of how we met. One of her girlfriends, I used to work at Paychex. The first day I met her, she told me, "I have the perfect girl for you. She's in a relationship right now. When that ends, I will hook you up." And true to her word, she just kind of created the space where Aubree and I met because Aubree was able to play basketball with my friends and I, and a relationship just kind of grew from there. She was in school for massage, so one of the first things I remember telling her was, "I love massage. You're going to be a massage therapist. It's going to be great."
We have so much in common already.
We have so much in common, right? She didn't think it was funny then, but yeah, she's, I think, better now.
Yes. And how did things evolve into the co-creation of your business together in this kind of transition into working together?
Well, I say I've been licensed now for 13 years, and a lot of life events led me into this field. So I'd say we've always had a joint just passion for health and wellness and just well-being, helping people. So knowing that about Chiedu, about I'd say 5 or so, maybe 8 years into my licensure, I knew that he would be great in this field as well. Just his knowledge and his passion to help people, and all his wealth of information about health. And I thought, man, you would be so good at this, and you should get your license, and we can work together. And
And I told her I didn't want to touch people. I don't want to be a massage therapist.
yeah.
And that conversation went on for about 6 years.
So I think it was the last time that I was even going to suggest it. I was like, just get your license so we can work together. And I didn't even know at the time how that would pan out or what that looked like, but I just knew that somehow we would make it happen. And the last time I mentioned it was the first time that he said, "You know what, I think I might." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So that began about 6 years ago?
Yeah, so fast forward to September 2016 was when we closed on our house. We bought the equipment that's in the space that we currently work out of because the previous business owners, they closed down and they sold us all the equipment. So we just bought the equipment. And then I also started going to school for massage. So 3 major life events all in 1 month.
All in
1
one.
week, yeah.
In 1 week, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Thinking about the vision for your practice, clearly there's more than meets the eye when it comes to what you offer. It's not just massage therapy. I was curious if you might be able to speak to that overarching vision of what you were conceptualizing from the start with Hurt So Good, and then how maybe it's evolved from there.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. I'd say it really was born out of the need to help people, like as many as possible, especially people who've been injured in car accidents, because that's really what led me to this field in the first place. I knew I wanted to be in health and helping people, but I had a number of car accidents myself personally, and I never knew you could get treatment. And I'd say that just getting into treating people who've been in car accidents, there were so many that I was treating before Hurt So Good was born that it was really just a matter of like, a lot of therapists don't want to deal with the insurance. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing to deal with. And I just thought that that was a huge disservice to people who were injured. And I thought to myself, well, if I could have like staff or massage therapists do the work to help people, and then I could handle the tough, billing portion of it, then we would be able to have a solution and just be able to extend ourselves and help more people, as many as we could, in this area. So it was really just born out of a need to help people.
Yeah. And I'll say for me, I didn't even realize massage was kind of speckled throughout my whole life. I started getting massage at a very early age. Probably I was in middle school, I think, when I had my first massage. And it wasn't until maybe my late 20s that I started getting massage again on a regular basis. But the first thing I felt was just how different my body felt. And I guess I've been more in tune with my body more than the average person. Maybe it's just because of being an athlete or whatever that is. But a lot of the conversations Aubree and I would have before I got into school was, hey, I just learned this. And a lot of times it was kind of around the field of health and wellness. So that's one of the biggest reasons she also started pushing me to massage so that I didn't really see myself as sharing the knowledge with people, but as clients come in, they have aches and pains and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They've seen this doctor, they've seen that doctor, this pain management, and no one can figure out what's going on with them. And then here Aubree and I come and we say, does it hurt here? And then we press on it. It's like, oh, that's it. And then, 30 minutes to 60 minutes later, depending on how long they book their session, they come out as different people. Like, I think that for us, that's one of the things that we really enjoy about what we do is just be able to get that instant gratification of helping people see what their body could and should feel like on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Education.
Sounds like providing a lot of release for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And just like the awareness around your body, I think that there's nothing worse than having something and you don't understand where it's coming from or what's going on. And then you start WebMDing and, really doing yourself in. So it's nice to know throughout the session where something's coming from. And then it just provides a level of peace, I think. And that's something I felt as a young person. I was concerned about as an athlete also, if I would have a pain, like, is it something worse? Is it something that's manageable? Is it something that needs surgery? So I think just having that peace of mind, knowing, okay, I understand my body and where this is coming from, and then how you can help yourself also. Like, we're big proponents of educating so that people can help themselves in the meantime if they're not with us. And I think that's really powerful. So.
Yeah, and I'm hearing even between the lines, in addition to that educational component, it really does feel, wow, I can actually feel it like in my hands and in my arms. There's a holistic approach and emphasis with the work you so lovingly do. So Aubree, for instance, as you're talking about your own experience with your history of being in car accidents and then seeking to treat as many people in our area as you're able to, while being able to assist them with that financial element of being able to access insurance benefits. I mean, that's really so huge in terms of the service that you're offering. And I hear you as you say, having somebody else in charge, I would be handling all of that challenging, difficult paperwork aspects so that the people are able to receive. But beyond that, I imagine that in addition to the physiological trauma that they're coming in with from the car accident, you also are experiencing other dimensionality of that traumatic experience, the emotional impact, the relational and social impact, maybe even the spiritual impact. And I'm just curious how you guys are able to hold such beautiful space for those elements that go beyond the physical vessel of the body.
I can start first. I mean,
Okay.
before massage, I really wasn't even in tune with maybe the spiritual. Maybe I take that back. I've always been in tune with the spiritual side. It's just I never really labeled it as that. And part of that I've learned is that part of what I give off for a lot of people is just grounding energy anyway, just because of who I am as a person. So I think that's one thing that just kind of comes natural to me. Like I've had coworkers in the past just say, just being around me, they feel a lot more calm. And I think that's just because I always try to just kind of keep myself there because I don't want to be so high or so low. I just like to be steady and even kill. But I know for Aubree, I'll speak, kind of segue for her is that a lot of her clients call her their massage therapists, right? So not only do they get massage, but they also get the, counseling and talk therapy part of it too.
Yeah, Chiedu's an earth sign, so that's where the grounding comes from, which I very much appreciate myself. Yeah, I'd say just for me, it's the knowing like what it feels like to be on the other side of the coin as far as being injured and the phases that come with that and the fear that comes with that, the unknown. You really don't know if you're going to be fully recovered. You don't know how long these things are going to impact your life, to what degree. So, I mean, I've been there. I've been in a few seemingly hopeless moments in my life being injured to where I really didn't think I was ever going to recover from it. And massage is the one thing that has always served me well. I mean, we're big proponents of receiving massage ourselves on a regular basis so that we can stay well enough to be able to do our serve our purpose. And yeah, I think just knowing that it's going to be okay and being able to reassure people that this is just a moment in time and it's just the consistency of care and knowing yourself and just being able to help yourself and whatever we can do to just keep everybody's spirits up, because it really can get challenging, especially if you're out of work and the financial situation, just all that. So I really enjoy, especially with insurance, you have to fight for treatment. You have to really be an advocate for these people, and I love it. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So I think that's a big concern for people is lawyers generally know so much and other providers generally know so much. So it's like, listen, I have you covered with the massage portion, so like don't even worry. So we just like to provide peace of mind for people in any area that we can. So
yeah, and it sounds like that grounding and also that warm, nurturing, compassionate energy that both of you offer, it almost kind of helps them to find those elements of hope amidst the struggles that they're facing and helps them to kind of join with you in the process. It sounds like to kind of trust that, right now things are really difficult and also they will improve over time. And I'm now feeling supported by people who clearly know what they're doing and want to help me. I think that can go a long way. I'm just curious what your experience has been with people who maybe had a significant element of being able to kind of come through that passage from the despair to the more positive healing outcomes.
One thing that even to this day when I hear it, it's so humbling. A lot of our clients, so if you've ever been in a car accident, you're seeing your PCP, you're seeing a pain management doctor, you're seeing an orthopedic doctor, you're seeing pretty much the whole gamut of different, types of doctors and specializations to try to figure out what's going on, and they get a lot of pain medication. And so, I mean, you have the Western allopathic model of this is what you do to kind of start to get better. But a lot of our clients have said to myself, to Aubree, and the other therapists in our office that massage is the only thing that's helped them. And I remember hearing that the very first time I heard that, I was like, a part of me was like, huh? Because I really didn't have the knowledge then. Because I mean, my mind was always thinking, it's like, if this is the consequence, then what are the actions that led to the consequence? If massage is the only thing that's helping them, what is it about massage that's led to that? And it's awesome. I mean, some of our clients, even just last week, I had a client say, she said, God forbid that I'm thankful for this accident, but part of me is thankful for this accident because if this accident did not occur, this car accident, I would have never met you guys. And it's changed a lot about my life, So I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I'm very thankful to this lady over here because she, for 6 years, just kept on it until I decided I would go to school and join her in this journey.
Well, and it sounds like you're opening a lot of doorways and passageways to health and wellness based on their initial encounter with you, maybe in a time of crisis or great need.
And one thing I will say to add to that too is that a lot of the things Aubree and I talk about, I feel we come from a place of experience, right? So if we're talking about health and wellness, we're talking from our experience and having lived it, So when we talk about massage with our clients, we can give them not a specific window on when they're going to get better, but we can tell them confidently, hey, you know what, it's probably going to take a couple of months before you start to feel a significant impact. But even after the first and second treatment, a lot of our clients, I think, just feel what the difference in massage can make. So that sparks a little bit of a hope for them so that they can continue with treatment confidently, knowing that it will help them overall.
Yeah. And I think that element that you're basically putting out this idea of walking your talk, that's huge, and as somebody who receives massage from your practice, that makes me feel so much more connected to your offerings because I know that you yourselves place an emphasis and a value on the same service that you offer. You find it necessary to also be receiving that. And there's a beautiful reciprocity that comes with that. And I think energetically, it really serves to kind of open this healing space as you guys are putting out there to a wider array of people. Yeah.
With massage, I mean, we not only do we get massage once a week just for our upkeep, but we're also working on ourselves individually with like little tools around the house. She calls me the floor dweller because a lot of times you will catch me at night just rolling around on the floor with a little ball just to kind of like open up different like tight spots in my body. And she does the same thing with the massage gun and the different tools that we have. So our dog, I thought she's just relaxing laying down, but she wanted to also pipe in and say something to the people.
Yeah. And I'd say like just what I tell people too is I feel like my own body is my continuing education because things happen and you feel something and you're like, oh, well, how can I fix this? So I feel like we are constantly working on ourselves to continuously learn about the body because generally if you have the same issue that I've had, it's the same point of issue that we just have to address in the same way. So it's cool that we can practice on ourselves and learn more so we can help people in a deeper way.
Yeah. And in addition to what you're doing, with those points of tension in the body, and it sounds like you guys are really getting in there with the tools that you use at home. I'm just curious, what are some of the other elements that you include in your daily rituals and routines that you feel help you to be prepared to do this work and to keep up with yourselves and to be informed and connected to your body and the body wisdom?
It's quite the routine, Jen.
Well, taking care of your body, you only have one body, right? So
Right.
you're going to be using it for 60, 70, 80 plus years of your life. So you might as well take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that everybody maintains their homes, their cars, like all the things that they own. But then when it comes to their body, they're not putting in the same, concerted effort or investment. And it is a full-time job. I mean, but it's something that's worthwhile because you're investing in yourself and you feel the difference. So it's like, it's easy to stick to things that help you function better and just in a good headspace. I mean, you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean,
Here we go.
Yeah, we both are very adamant gym goers. We strength train, we, do different practices. I mean, just to continue to keep our bodies up and maintain ourselves. And I think that makes a huge difference when we're trying to, see as many people as we do. And stretching, I mean, I think the first 3 hours of my day are literally cupping myself, stretching. I have gua sha tools. I'm in the sauna. I'm trying to detox. I'm trying to hydrate. Just everything I can do to stay loose, stay strong, and stay well mentally. And I mean, having quiet time in the morning, even the drive into work, it's like having the mindful time to just prepare myself for the day. So I'd say briefly that's my routine.
The overview.
Beautiful.
So being a former engineer, I kind of have to like lay out some bullet points, right?
Okay.
So I mean, for me, the first I guess you could say foundation for us started with just like diet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that we've learned through our healing journey is that the cleaner your blood, you keep your blood, the healthier you're going to be. So we looked at a lot of the foods that we were eating, and for us, we decided that a plant-based, whole food plant-based lifestyle was best. And we saw a lot of health challenges start to reverse itself once we started doing that and cleaning up our diet and our blood. And then from there, like Aubree says, we train at least 3 times a week for me. She's in the gym 7 days a week. She didn't want to say that, but I'll say it. And then I play basketball a couple times a week. And then for me, my other practice is Qigong, which is, I guess you could call it like a Chinese type of yoga, for those of you who have never really heard of it, but it's an energy cultivation practice that you just kind of learn to harness the energies that are all around us and within the bodies and just strengthen it and develop it to a higher level. And then higher level practitioners within this type of practice can actually send their energy out to help other people heal. So that complements even massage as well. So
yeah, I'm grateful that you touched upon that, because I think that's one of the elements that I was gently alluding to earlier when I indicated that what you're offering in your practice is so much more than the manipulation of the fascia and the massage therapy itself. So what you're really speaking to now is more of like an energetic therapy. Being applied as a tool in conjunction with what you're already offering to kind of augment and amplify the healing effects throughout the whole system is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, especially nervous system. I mean, I'd say generally people are in their sympathetic, their fight or flight more than ever, and just giving them time and the awareness to be still and to be okay with just being, which can be very challenging for people, but giving them the space to feel safe enough and to be able to relax.
Yeah.
I used to always say, I used to always say that relaxation is a skill. And I initially I would say jokingly, because when I would be trying to stretch either pecs or your hamstrings or something like that with a client, a lot of people just kind of like tense up and hold. I'm like, relax, let it go, relax. And I, just to help people feel better, I would say, hey, relaxation is a skill. But the more I said it, the more I realized it actually is a skill, especially in today's day and age, like Aubree alluded to, is that everybody is just so hyper vigilant, hyper alert, especially in the post-COVID world. People are ready to jump on. Everybody's so polarized on one bandwagon or another. So everybody's so wound tight. So being able to get like a therapeutic massage like we offer, it relaxes the whole nervous system, like Aubree said. And a telling thing that my Qigong teacher, my Shifu, said to me in one of our classes, he said, if you could just get people into the deepest state of relaxation, their bodies will naturally heal itself. Which is something I say to a lot of my clients anyway. Also, just from some of the other things I've learned, is that your body will heal itself once you put it in the right environment to do so, because it already knows how to heal itself, right? When we get a cut, we don't have to tell the body to start healing. It just heals it automatically, all right? So it knows how to do it internally, but we just have to get the conditions right internally so that it can start to heal itself. And relaxation and kind of turning the body off from all the outside world stresses, I think, is a really big part of that.
Yeah.
Well, and you're giving them what in the realm of teaching and learning we would call guided practice. You're right there with them, opening that door for them and enabling them to get into that unwinding phase with you being there, holding the space, offering that grounding, warm, compassionate, gentle energy. And it gives them that opportunity to get a taste of what that feels like, so that from there they can continue to cultivate that and to proliferate that into other areas of their life when they're not on the table and in the room with you. And that's just so beautiful, because again, it's like that idea of like opening the doorway to something that they can access, yes, while they're with you, but also that they can cultivate for when they're not with you.
Yeah. Now I have a quick story on that too. So my Shifu, he initiated a lot of the students into Chi healing, which is similar to Reiki, so a lot of different words for pretty much the same type of practices. But with the Chi healing, I decided to share this with a couple of my past clients, just to be able to practice, I guess. I forgot what my whole thought process behind it was, but I said, you know what, before I even charge anyone for anything, let me just give it away and work on as many people as possible. Because I mean, that's one of the first things that someone told us when I at least told me when I first started massages, get your hands on as many people as possible. So I said, well, let me do the same thing with the Chi healing. So one of my former clients he came in for a couple of sessions. The second time he came in, he told me, he's like, you know what? Because with the Chi healing, I'm not putting my hands on clients, right? So because it's the energy work, it's just the hands off the body. But one of the things that he said to me was that with what he felt in the session during the week, he would kind of find a quiet place and sit down for a few minutes and just start to like reconnect with his body, almost like he felt when he tried to recreate the sensations that he felt when he was in session, which was, my mind was blown, because looking at this guy, I would never have thought that he would tell me that he's essentially now developing a meditation practice just because of the relaxation, the effects that he felt from that session. So it's just, we have like a lot of stories like that, just little things that just kind of keep us going, with being able to share what we learn and do for ourselves with other people, with other clients.
Nice. That's a beautiful one. I really enjoyed you taking the time to share about that. Again, there's so much rooted in your own personal lived experience that you're able to bring into others' experience and to help them to determine for themselves what it is that they want to gravitate toward. That's the other element that I'm hearing here as I'm listening between the lines. It's not like you're coming into the space with clients and you're prescribing, like, I think you need to do this and you should try that. It's more like providing perhaps some gentle exposure or illumination, and then they, as the sovereign individual, can determine which of those practices feel aligned and that they can resonate with and might want to gravitate towards.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Supporting each other.
Yeah. So I think, I just was wondering if we might be able to kind of walk back for just a moment to what is the difference for the layperson. So, Chiedu, I heard you use the term allopathic medicine. And I think for a lot of people that it's something that they hear. I think they might have somewhat of a frame of reference for what that means, but I don't know that people really are thinking about how our Western medicine is designed now in this allopathic versus holistic structure. And I'm just curious if either of you might want to touch upon that for a moment.
Well, I mean, maybe I'll set Aubree up to expand on it a little bit. But many years ago, before we even got on this journey, she was dealing with a lot of gastrointestinal, little to no energy, so we started just kind of looking around, and I was reading a lot of different books, and then I just came across the word allopathic medicine. So I said, well, what is that? So in my research, I learned there are many different types of medicine. There's the allopathic medicine, there's the homeopathic medicine, there's the naturopathic medicine, and all these things just kind of allude to a certain type of direction as far as what the doctors in those fields would tell you to start to help you, or to try to help you bring back your health. So I think at one point we saw a naturopathic doctor. We saw a functional medicine doctor, which really didn't yield a lot of results for us. So did you want to?
Thank you.
Okay. So in that model, in that field, we kind of came back to, there's it's called iridology, right? Iridology is very similar to reflexology in that if reflexology, they map out the organs in the hands and the feet, iridology, they map it out in the eyes. So after we saw the naturopathic doctor, we finally landed on the iridologist who could actually pinpoint different organs in our body that needed help. And that helped us kind of start to really figure out how to get the most out of the most out of our daily life to access the treatment model. If that makes any sense. I don't even know what I'm trying to say with that, but
because she's also a master herbalist. So I think that, just knowing what we know about the Western model, it's not really there to solve or resolve issues or bring balance in the body.
It's great for like acute.
Sure.
Yeah.
It definitely has its purpose, but as far as chronic issues, I don't think that it's the best model for that type of thing. It's something that needs a root. It's a root issue, and that you need to work over time to reestablish that homeostasis within your body. Because I think whether it's emotional or whether it's physical trauma or anything, you have to just get the body back into a place where it can function more properly without all those things in the way. So
it's interesting because as you speak, Aubree, I just recently watched the documentary called Heal. It's a 2017 documentary. And Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief, he was kind of describing exactly what you're saying. So for certain things, acute matters, you're going to want to go and have a surgeon in some cases, right? But then in other cases, the segmentation and the splitting up of those specialization areas, if they're not taking an appraisal of the wider view, then sometimes things might not come together for that person's healing process. So what you're saying about, kind of treating symptomology on the surface level and not always getting to that deeper root issue, I think that's what brings a lot of us away from the Western medical model and into more of what I think a lot of times we used to call alternative modalities that we now kind of associate more with like holistic treatment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, with allopathic medicine, the analogy that comes to me is if the only tool you have is a hammer, all your problems are going to look like a nail, right? And the reason I say it that way is because the only things that I've seen allopathic medicine really be able to offer, which is great in the acute setting, is surgery and drugs, right? And none of those things really address the root cause of what's going on. So what they do is if they mask the cause and the symptoms, eventually when the symptoms come around again, it may be 5-10 years down the road, but by the time it comes around again, it's going to be the car engine light has been turned off all this time, and all of a sudden now the engine is going to fall out because you're going to have a bigger problem. And the way we see disease now is that a lot of diseases that people are dealing with, and especially in Western societies across the world, are diseases of lifestyle, right? That people have eaten their way a lot of times, and it's hard for people to hear this, but it's the truth is that they've put themselves in these situations, whether knowingly or unknowingly, through their habits and lifestyle. And it's going to take just a little bit of discipline initially to start to turn the ship around, And the cool thing is that once you start feeling better, whether it's by, getting massage on a consistent basis, or maybe if someone is eating a heavy, animal diet, maybe they do one plant-based diet a week on a say a Monday or something like that, and they feel the difference. Like, no one can argue with how they feel. Like, once people start to feel the difference of what healthy practices can do, it's easier for them to continue to do it, right? So that's one of the biggest reasons that we continue with this lifestyle is we know how it feels when we don't do it, and we choose to feel great all the time. So.
Well, and it's so interesting that we keep kind of coming back to like these little nuances around diet, nutrition, digestive health, and so thinking about the holistic paradigm, we're really looking at the mind, body, spirit connection, right? And we've talked a little bit about nervous system regulation. We didn't really get into the polyvagal theory of nervous system regulation, but a lot of what we're getting into kind of speaks to the cumulative impact of stress in the body on the neuroendocrine system. And so all that being tightly wound, being in that, I call it the yellow zone of the tricolor chart. We've got red for the ventral vagal shutdown, collapse. Then we've got the yellow, which is that sympathetic activation, that fight or flight. And then we come down into what I call I call it the green because it's green on the chart, but that's our ventral vagal state where we're feeling calm, oriented to the environment, and safe in connection with others, right? So all this nervous system's kind of keyed up that you're seeing in patients, a lot of times there's a mind-gut connection that I'm wondering, what people can do to kind of edge in on that. Because like you, Aubree, I came into all of my pathways towards natural healing modalities because of a big, tremendous gut odyssey that I was facing when Devin was still a baby. And I had such difficulty with diet and finding the appropriate treatment for that. And what I found was that in the Western medical model, I was not even able to be diagnosed because what I had was a raging case of small intestine bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. And even when I fought for the diagnostic test, which is a hydrogen breath test, one of our local hospitals, they ran the test, but they missed one of the readout points. And so the test result was skewed. So I ended up working with a naturopathic physician in an integrative model of care to send a hydrogen breath test away to a lab in California, where that result could be read with the appropriate time markers. And then I was sent a graph that shows how that's taking place in the gut. And it's very interesting because what happens when the bacteria gets off balance is there's a lot of off-gassing and fermentation that happens in the gut. And that's what creates all the bloating and all the indigestion. And when you go to the doctor and they prescribe pills, the pills aren't going to fix that dysbiosis in the gut flora. It's not going to target the imbalance. And it's also not going to address the other things that will happen, like skin issues.
Right.
So during these times, one of the reasons I knew something was very off is because I kept getting a lot of rashes on my skin. So it's very interesting, the idea of how our lifestyle can impact our health, but then also some of the things beneath the surface, some of the things that we would think about in terms of, you know, psychological issues maybe that are not resolved, or spiritual issues that are unresolved, and compounded maybe even by lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
And I will piggyback on what you were saying about the skin issues. So one of the things that I've learned is that your colon naturally is your biggest eliminator, one of your biggest eliminator of toxins, right? So breathing and colon. But if your colon is impacted and you're not able to get stuff out and you have that dysregulation, the next option for your body to detox is through your skin. So people who have a lot of skin issues, they have a lot of their eliminative systems clogged up, whether it's the colon, even, I'm sure even like the lymphatic system, if they were to look at that, there's going to be a lot of blockages in these major systems of detoxification. So the symptoms that now appear is going to be on the skin. You know, so I mean, it's so, for me, it's, I always feel like I'm a little bit of a detective sometimes, and that's what it takes to start to come back from some of these health issues, because the truth is always in our faces. Is just, if you don't have the eyes or ears to hear, you're not going to be able to see it. And back to diet is actually part of that too, you know.
Yeah, I just thought of a phrase I would hear all the time about listen to your body. And I had no idea what that meant. I'm like, listen to my body. What do you mean? Like, what am I listening for? And I think that's really the key, where it's like your body's giving you signs, and when they give you signs, you just have to look into that and see. And then a lot of it's like trial and error too. I think you have to see what is, I mean, it's inflammation and stress, I think,
Yeah.
are the top two things cause in our body that cause dis-ease.
Yes, yes. And with the inflammation, Chiedu, you mentioned your natural embodiment of like a grounding presence and a grounded energy that kind of runs throughout your system, because you're able to kind of hold that steady balance. I am just curious, are either of you guys actively applying any grounding and earthing practices on a daily basis?
Well, in the summertime, I'm the weird dude who walks around the neighborhood without any shoes on. So when I take out dogs out in the morning and the night, in the summertime, I don't have any shoes on. So whenever I can be barefoot, you know, like I try to be barefoot as much as possible. I would say for me, that's the biggest grounding that I do on a consistent basis. And I mean, even just like really feeling into my feet and foot, like just my posture, you know, being able to feel the soles of my feet, being sometimes like I even like imagine energy coming up from the bottom of my feet into my body, and energy going down, like grounding negative energies down through my feet, you know. So I think even like a visualization practice like that and intention behind that can also serve to help people like get grounded, you know. And with that thinking, I also focus on my breathing, my breath, really feeling it cycle in and out of my body, so I feel like that's also like, it's not a traditional grounding, like I'm not, grounding into the earth, but I feel like it's another form of grounding.
Yeah, and it's, what you're describing is a lot of the work that I do with the people in my office setting. So a lot of times we'll be doing these guided visualizations that involve a lot of imagery that connect to the earth. We will try to get into that reciprocal process. I recently just came across an element in a resource that I love and use all the time, and somehow I missed this beautiful element. It's called Connecting to the Earth. It's a lovely grounding practice. And what I love about that practice is that it's hitting on so many cylinders, because some of what you've just described, that idea of the visualization, the connecting to the feeling and the sensation of the feet on the ground, being able to kind of create that conduit for the reciprocal flow of energy. But this particular piece also has an element of basically like a qigong release, because it has you rolling up onto the balls of the feet and then slapping the heels down several times, allowing everything in the body to jiggle and shake. And the cueing system in the scripting is asking the participant to, with that jiggling and with that shaking, release any of these energies, these beliefs, these paradigms that they're holding on to that are not serving them. And those are going down into the earth. But then there's another element in the same practice where now we're sending some gratitude for what we've received from the earth back into the earth. Again, getting into what I call that infinite loop of giving and receiving. So even within one practice, you can have these different nuances. The other thing I love about that particular piece is it ends with a seating practice. So you start standing, really focusing on the feet. But now when we close it with the seated practice, now we're focusing on what I call the base. So the root, the base of the tailbone, being really grounded through the base. And then, we can also add in a little bit of additional imagery for people that really connect well to that idea of sending something from their body down into the earth. So a lot of times I'll have them drop a grounding cord from the base of the tailbone down into the earth to connect with the roots that they've already sent from the feet, to really harness that energy. It's very cool to kind of get creative and watch what people bring in for their imagery. It's incredible.
And
Awesome.
I will say too, because I remember when I first started going to school, I told Aubree, I was like, one of my biggest fears is I didn't want to become one of those like weird massage people, if you understand what I'm saying. Like I didn't want to be so like woo-woo,
Yeah.
right? And I asked Aubree, like, is this going to make me become a woo-woo person? Because I don't want to be, I don't want to be that. So I know, like, for maybe the uninitiated, this could sound a little bit of that. But the cool thing about living in today's day and age is that you can actually you can test these things, right? There's a company called HeartMath where you can
I was just going to mention that.
put a little sensor on, and you can see when your body goes into coherence, which I feel like is a form of grounding. You have the HRV testing where whether it's a watch or even there are apps on the phone, you can test your HRV, right?
The heart rate variability.
Yeah, heart rate variability before and after one of these practices, and literally see it change. Like I've seen so for perfect example, like I've played basketball for an hour in the morning and then check my HRV afterwards, and it's like really low. And then I sit there for 5-10 minutes, just do pranayama for 5-10 minutes, breathe in, hold it, focus on letting the breath go throughout my body, slow exhale, hold that, do that for 5 to 10 minutes, and I can see an 80-point increase in my heart rate variability just from like a 5 to 10 minute practice, right? So if you extrapolate something like that over the course of days, weeks, months, and years, it literally would change a person from the inside out.
Yeah, the biorhythms of the body. Yeah. And you learn to stay with what therapeutically we call the window of tolerance, but with the physiology of the body, not just the mental and emotional constitution. Now we're really tracking at that body level. So talk about accessing the wisdom of the body, Aubree. You really are kind of doing that, because you're recognizing when you're deviating, and you're able to kind of use the skills that you've gained to kind of bring it back into that zone where it needs to be. And I think that's what you're describing too at the beginning of our episode tonight, with that grounded energy that you offer, probably because you've done so much biorhythm coherence work that you know when you're not there. And you know when you've deviated, and you know how to get yourself back by grounding into the body, grounding into the breath, creating that anchor for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an actual physical like feeling. Like you can feel the difference when you're grounded versus not grounded. Because prior to me, I would say even prior to a year ago, like I would use that terminology, being grounded, but I wasn't necessarily feeling it. It wasn't until I can't even say, it's probably the last couple of months, we've just getting back more into my Qigong practice on a more consistent basis. I can feel myself just kind of like drop. You know, actually, I noticed the biggest difference was when we had the solar eclipse a couple months ago. And I sat there and I was breathing, just focusing on my breath throughout the whole thing. And it just felt like this weight was just like pulling my whole body down. And it's just like a huge sense of relaxation just kind of spreading throughout the whole body. So it's, when we say being grounded, like it's an actual physical sensation that people can feel once they've practiced it enough, and it will help them in all areas, I think.
I must say, though, I'm also hearing a fair amount of input that suggests counter to the grounding, there's a good deal of centering that's going on. So Aubree, for instance, when you spoke to your daily ritual and routine, some of that time in the morning where you're having your gentle contemplative time, you're working on your body, you're having that mindful stillness time, that's enabling you to get to that centered place so that you can hear that wisdom of the body coming through. And Chiedu, as you were talking, I started to kind of picture too, as you talk about the heart rate variability and your work around coherence and heart math, I mean, that really is what we are associating too with that idea of being centered. And it's beautiful that you're speaking directly to the energetic practices that you've been doing, because when we think about the grounding energies, we're really thinking about the lower energy body, right? So heart on down through solar and sacral and root. But then when we're thinking about being centered, it's a little bit more really rooted in the heart chakra, but then also coming up to encompass throat, which is free will, right? And then third eye and crown. And so when those things are balanced throughout the system, now we have the groundedness through the base, we have the centering through the middle and the upper, and now we can be fully in our, whatever you want to call it, seat of power, personal authority. In the work of internal family systems, we call it self-leadership or self-authority, being self-directed. And so really we've kind of gotten into this full-blown, like starting with massage therapy, we've looked at all of these different elements of health. So I'm wildly curious if you guys have a framework that you like to consider when you think about health. So like, for instance, I use what I call the compass of health, where north is nutrition, south is sleep, but it also includes rest in the form of slowness, stillness, and solitude. Then we have over in the east, exercise, which I call movement practice now after my work with eating disorder treatment and recovery. And then over in the west is our water or hydration, which really is inside and out, right? It's not just the lotion we're putting on the skin or the fluids that we're ingesting. but rather both. So I'm just curious if you guys have like a construct or a paradigm that helps you to kind of tune into those different facets or elements of health and also access that body wisdom.
She just looks at me.
I mean, I guess like the staples, would you say, of the day? Maybe like I kind of look at it as in my mind. I mean, I look forward to my day. I look forward to the time for myself. And I incorporate like meditations. And I also want to say that at least I feel like most people, when we talk about meditation, it's like, well, I can't do that because I can't not think of anything, right? And it's like, of course not, because that's just not how our mind works. But it's not even what that's about. And I was that person. I'm like, I can't sit there for 5 minutes and not think of anything, and that's not it. So I mean, I always recommend people start with a guided meditation, or have an intentional meditation that someone can guide you through. And I think that that's super helpful. And you're going to have thoughts, but the point is to let them pass and just maintain the inner peace. I mean, I think that that's what I aim to protect and to hold all day, every day, is my inner peace. And, that's through guided meditations, that's through quiet time in the sauna. I mean, we both do variations of fasting. I personally just do intermittent fasting every day. That makes me feel good. I think it's always important for people to do what feels good to them. There's not something that's always going to be across the board for everybody. So I think it's just like what you said, John, earlier, was just allowing people to sample from what we might do or offer, and then see if that works for them. And if that makes you feel good, if that brings you peace and joy and happiness, versus, we don't want things that are going to bring us anxiety or sadness or anything like that. So, I mean, it's just,
to feel good, not to feel good in the moment because you just had that chocolate chip cookie or you just that cake, oh, this is good, and you feel like crap afterwards. But to feel good from like inside out, because you radiate health from inside out. And I feel like we kind of have the same pillars when we think about health as a whole. Aubree is known in their office for having was it 72-gallon jug of water?
Ounces,
ounces, 72
I'm not
ounces.
that ambitious.
So she tries to get in at least a gallon of water, I would say, every day.
And with electrolytes, just because I sweat so much in the gym and in the sauna, and I felt a huge difference when I started adding them to my water. So I aim to, it's just something that you build up to. I didn't start drinking a gallon of water a day, So I always preface everything that we do is we didn't just start doing all this stuff overnight. It was a progression of little changes, little habits, little things to see what we could stick with, and then we could add on top of that. So I just always want to emphasize that this is not an overnight thing. This is a journey, and there's no need to rush it. Just do it at your pace. But hydration.
I feel like it all kind of builds on top of each other, because as you start to feel good with drinking more water, like staying hydrated, a lot of issues that people think that they have could be resolved with just being more hydrated. I had a client who I forget what specific issues that she was struggling with, but she had more weight than she wanted, and in the conversation, I just put it out as a challenge. I'm like, hey, listen, like I've heard of people doing this. You can do it for yourself or not. I'm not saying I am not the guru or a health expert. I've just heard a lot of stories, and I can share some of those stories and what's worked with people. But you have to do it for yourself and be your own best advocate. That's what we tell our clients. So I told her, like, hey, you know what? I've heard of people doing a gallon of distilled water a day, doing that for at least 30 days and seeing what transformations happen in their body. So she decided she was going to do it, and she did it. And a little voice kind of spoke in my head a couple weeks later. It's like, hey, let me just check in with this person because she's not one of my regular clients, but it came up, so I shared. And she said, thank you so much for texting me because I was just about to call my doctor. I've lost like 15 pounds in the last 2 weeks. And I don't know what's going on. But I told her, it's like, hey, listen, that's actually what we've seen with some people who do that is that once your body starts to get hydrated on this, especially on a cellular level, like a lot of things start to heal in the body because dehydration is a cause for a lot
Yeah.
of disease. There's a great book I would recommend anyone who's listening to this call to check out. Actually, I can recommend a lot of great books, but for those, this one that comes to mind is it's Your Body's Silent. Your Body's Silent. Oh my gosh, I forget the title now. It's Your Body's Silent. Something. Your body. It's gone. Totally gone.
We'll let you know later.
Yeah, I will look
I'll
it up.
pop a link into our feeds after our show. Yeah, I'll look it up.
That's terrible. I can't remember the name. But yeah, so I mean, dehydration is the premise of the book is that dehydration is the root cause for a lot of what people view as disease because and the way I see it, after I read that book, I said, you know what, if the body isn't able to be hydrated on a cellular level, that means oxygen isn't coming into the cells the way that it needs to come in. And when the degradation starts to happen, then you start to see the disease in the body, right? The same thing with inflammation. When there's a lot of inflammation, the cells can't breathe, right? So you start to see that degradation, so a lot of times just the name of the disease tells you exactly what's going on, right? If you see itis, it means inflammation, so tonsillitis, appendicitis, arthritis, right? A part of me, I guess, just being the curious person that I am, the next question for me was, well, what is causing the itis? What is causing the inflammation? And when you start to follow that route, you see that a lot of it is lifestyle and diet, right?
Yeah.
People eating a highly inflammatory diet, and if they are eating a highly inflammatory diet, they don't have the hydration on top of that to help the body move some of that out.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you talked about the idea of the inside and the outside. But what I'm really hearing in the narrative here is the input and the output. So kind of being very clear on where your time, your energy, and your resources are going to support various things happening in the body. And then what is your requisite level of energy telling you about how well you did with applying those practices? And Aubree, you especially as you're speaking, I almost get the sense that you're recognizing when that energy is dipping and you're like, okay, which things in my little Wonder Woman tool belt of self-care practices am I going to employ here to get this energy where it needs to be, so that you can serve yourself, serve your clients, live and work in the way that you do. And it's just really beautiful to hear each of you articulate what that journey has looked like for the two of you as individuals, as a married couple, and as business owners as well who serve our community in Rochester, New York. So I'm sure we could continue all night here. It's been a really amazing discussion with the two of you, but I did want to just ask if you have any closing remarks or final insights or reflections to share. I'm sure our viewers won't mind if we go a tad over here just to kind of bring things to a lovely close.
Sure.
So I remember the name of the book, and I just looked it up again. It's Your Body's Many Cries for Water.
Oh.
Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And it's an Indian author. I don't want to butcher his name, so I'm not going to. You could just look up that book. But what I will say is that the biggest thing that I've learned on this journey and on this path is that there are a lot of things that we were told in our younger ages about what it means to be healthy, about what it means to be old or getting old, that we never challenged as critical thinking adults. you know, and for me, part of my mission has always just been to challenge it for myself, just to see how far I can take this human body, this avatar, this temple. And the more I challenge different things that were taught to us, like, oh, if you don't eat food or water for 3 days, you're gonna die. You know, just little different, which sounds crazy and extreme now, but you know, I kind of worked my way there. Is that I found out that the body is more powerful than we've been taught or led to believe. You know, and again, if we start to learn to put it in the right environment, it can and literally heal itself. If doctors can operate on a newborn baby and that baby can come out of the womb without even a scar, that gives you a glimpse of the power of the human body and
Yes.
the secrets that are still not being, maybe they're not being shared, or maybe people just not in the right, they're running the right circles to get that information, but it's definitely out there and it will be given to the seekers who are looking for it.
Yeah. And finding those inputs and making those connections, and whatever is matching to the interior template, plugging into those elements as well, and finding the people who have the correlating pieces. I always look at it as though our inner template is almost like a mandala, and there's little stones, and I might have certain stones, Aubree, that you need, and you might have certain stones that I need. And when we come together in life and in work and in community and in relationships, we can create for one another these little unlocks of things that maybe have yet to be discovered within, but with that mirroring and that reflection from the other, something gets sparked. And then that's when the magic happens, and that's when the synergy comes in, and that's where we feel in that green that we talked about, that safe in connection and oriented to the environment and really grounded and present and centered. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Love that. Yeah, so true. I mean, our bodies have intelligence, and we're here to share, you know, what we know. And you're absolutely right. We can all help each other with the stones that we all carry. And it's just a joy to be able to do what we love to do and to help people in any way that we can, and share our experience and our space. So
beautiful.
And one thing Aubree always says is that, I mean, it's easy. People who see us together and say it's easy for you guys because you're both doing it, you're both on the same page. One thing Aubree always, I hear her say this to a lot of people, is that she would have done this for herself, even though I didn't. Even if I decided I didn't want to be on this health journey with her, and same thing for me, I would have done it for myself because it's an act of self-love, right?
Yes.
So, you know, it's great if you have, you know, the support system, but you can do it without the quote unquote support system around you. And if anything, as you're doing it, the people around you will start to see your light shine brighter, and they will actually start to change some things in their life, so that, you know, if they see you set an example, right?
Yeah, inspiration.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for offering your inspiration here tonight with me and with our viewership, our guests. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on, especially for the premiere episode.
Thank you.
I would love to have you back sometime if you're ever inclined.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jen. We would love that.
For sure.
Right.
Maybe we won't be freaking out so much next time.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close here. Thank you so much again for your time and energy. And I'll share some of your links on my pages so that people can kind of become a little bit more acquainted with what you offer and your business and your website.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, of course.
So appreciate you.
You well.
All right.
Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.